Welcome to Sky Team's People First with Morag Barrett. Here, we'll be exploring the people side of successful businesses, careers, and lives. We all have a story to share, and there's something to be learned in every story. Join us to learn from authors, business leaders, thought leaders, and people just like you to uncover the latest ideas, resources, and tools to help you become more effective at work and life. As it turns out, the secret to success is cultivating winning relationships. Business is personal and relationships matter.
Welcome to this week's episode of People First, and my amazing guest this week is Atiba de Souza, who is an author, entrepreneur, and relationship mentor. He helps leaders break free from burnout and build teams that take ownership. He's the author of the best-selling book, The Delegation Trap, It's Not Them, It's You, which we will be talking about. And it's a story-driven guide that teaches leaders how to let go of every task and get the results that shine. He brings more than 25 years running gyms, bakeries, and food service companies and coaching national championship youth football teams. He knows firsthand what it takes to turn average performance into excellence. His mission is simple: transform overwhelmed bosses into confident leaders of teams that thrive, even when they're not in the room. Atiba, welcome to People First.
Thank you so much for having me, and looking forward to our conversation today.
Well, I saw relationship mentor in your bio, and I thought there's a man I want to speak to because workplace relationships are at the heart of the work I do.
Yes.
So my opening question for you then is, what role have relationships played in your success?
So here's what's interesting about that. I used to not care.
Ooh.
It didn't matter, right? It was like the work needed to get done. And if the relationship developed, fine. But the work needed to get done, and the work was paramount. It was first, second, and third position. Okay. And if you caught me on a bad day, fourth position too. Right. And that's how I lived as a leader for a long time. And what's interesting is now, when you look at the core values of my company and what we live by, relationships over everything else is at the center as the number one core value. Because what I came to realize was, without those relationships, we lose that interconnectivity that actually creates greatness. So you can create goodness, and that's what a lot of us do. We create good, right? But good is the enemy of great. And I fully believe that if you're not striving for greatness, what the hell are you doing? Like, seriously. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be great at everything, but every last one of us is designed to be great at something. And if we're not working towards it, what the hell are we doing? And you can't get there without great relationships.
So relationships are the difference between goodness and greatness. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about everything that you've just said. And that initially you were thinking, okay, just get the work done, achieve the results, relationships, bah, if it happens, great. So what was the tipping point between the independence, as I experienced early in my career too, to this recognition that interdependence, that the relationships were the secret sauce?
You know, I wish I could say there was a tipping point per se. I think it was one of those things where pebbles kept getting thrown at me to pay attention, and I wasn't. And then eventually, just got bulldozed. Right? I can tell you one in particular. So it's a friend of mine, ended up being the best man in my wedding 19 years ago. Wow. Yeah, 19 years ago. And I remember meeting him about almost a decade before that, and didn't like him, didn't care for him, didn't want anything to do with him. And it was interesting because within the company where we were, right, we were both consultants consulting for the government, and we both ended up with two major projects that were complementary to each other, but we didn't talk or have anything in common. And
Mm.
it was contention. It was contention, right? And I remember the day, and this is a hysterical story. So I was also back in those days into network marketing. Right, it's also something I was doing. And I remember walking into the office, an office in the where we were working, and there were two guys, and I was coming in there to talk to these two guys, and I built up the nerve to go, when you're network marketing, you got to go prospect, you got to go, right? And so I worked up the nerve to go talk to the two guys who were in that office about, hey, let's go to lunch. I want to tell you about this thing that I'm doing, right? Now, he happened to be in the room as well. And I said, screw
Uh-huh.
it. I'm still going to go ahead and do this, right? And so now the four of us go to lunch. Now we end up going to lunch, and he invited himself to the lunch. He said, I'm coming along just to make fun of this.
Oh, ow. Okay.
Okay. And I'm thinking, this jerk. Right? Because we're already contentious.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so uh, we go to lunch to Olive Garden in Tyson's
Okay.
Corner, Virginia. Okay. Um,
Been there. Not necessarily the Olive Garden, but definitely Tyson's Corner, Virginia. So I'm now picturing the scene. I love the color, the
okay.
richness.
Yes, this is like 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We all go to lunch, and my two friends who I thought were the ones I was approaching, they both sat there like, I'm not interested. He ended up being the one who was like, this sounds great. I want to do this. And we became
Wow.
friends.
Okay.
In that process, we became friends. But what ended up happening was both of our projects that we were leading ended up just becoming so much better because of our relationship. And
So
whereas before
that's,
it was just do the work, man.
yeah, just do the work and friction, which is at the heart of the work that we're doing. But now you've got an opportunity to collaborate. And to your point, not just have a good idea, but the opposites attract a great idea that resulted. And now,
Yes,
best man at your wedding, you said.
exactly. Now, the flip side is also true. I've also been on the other side where it was like, okay, relationship, relationship, relationship. And it was our relationship and there was no work. Or there
Hmm.
was um, taking advantage of because there's
Okay.
relationship, I can get away with from their point of view. Right. And so there has to be balance, obviously. I mean, we're here to produce greatness, right? But
So
there has to be care.
there has to be care, and to your point, there still needs to be accountability. And I think in the
Hmm.
work that I do and the leaders I coach, there is often a baseline misunderstanding about relationships at work that I can't possibly be friends with you because then what if I have to hold you accountable or give you tough feedback? How do you respond to leaders that are still at the keep everybody at arm's length?
It's it's time for that to die. And the reality is the market will no longer bear it.
Hmm.
The reality is, we watched over the last 15 years or so what social media did to society. We've watched how technology has changed things. And what's happening right now with AI is not going to be anything like what we've seen before, in that it's going to force human psyche to change and evolve even faster than anything else has before. And in that moment, what's going to actually happen, my prediction,
Hmm.
is humans are going to revert to baseline. And baseline for all humans is community.
Hmm.
And we're going to crave true and authentic community. And we're going to repel every environment where we don't have it. And so, whereas you might be able to get away with that right now, you won't in 5 years. And if you look at the arc and the trajectory of where things have been going, you'll see that. Okay. I had a conversation the other day with a gentleman, and we were talking about the younger generation and how hard it is. This younger generation, they just don't get it. And I'm like, yes, but it's incumbent upon us to create a community where they can get it.
Hmm.
Okay. Because that's what they're itching for. They're yearning for community.
And
And we're
if you
going to
think about
see that. Yeah, go ahead.
And we're going to see that. And if you think about a lot of the, well, it's going to continue to impact us for decades. But certainly, as I think about my own sons who finished their high school and university during the pandemic, but
Hmm.
even all of the youth, the emerging leaders younger than that still had that huge chunk of a key formative part of their schooling and life impacted by lockdown. And that
Absolutely.
has truly, I mean, it atrophied our ability as maturer adults to for small talk and connection. It heightened the gap and the realization that as humans we're hardwired for community. But if we haven't equipped the next generations with the fundamental skills that you learn at school, in your social clubs,
Hmm.
wherever you're gathering, is it any wonder that we're seeing that disconnect and mislabeling it right now? But we need to step up and actually help coach, guide, and mentor, especially when we throw on that AI curveball that's happening to
Yeah.
everything, how work gets done, how life gets done, so that we can all navigate it successfully.
Yeah.
One of the themes I know you talk about in the book is how storytelling can help connect us. So tell us more about the power of storytelling, both to connect but also with teams to drive results.
Well, let's think about it for a moment. What's the activity that could cause a human to not look at their cell phone for over an hour?
It's not a
It's only one
rhetorical
I've found.
question. Okay,
A
what's the one you've
movie.
found? Yes.
A,
Yeah.
a movie, right? But why is that? Because movie is story. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing that captivates the human mind and the human attention like story. We're wired to ingest story. We run to story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because intrinsically in story, you have what? You have a hero,
Mm-hmm.
you have a villain,
Mm-hmm.
you have a quest,
Mm-hmm.
you have a guide,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we love how that whole interplay happens. And I forget the exact number, but there are only like 8 stories or something like that in the world. Every story fits into like 8 or 10 different types. There aren't
Mm-hmm.
that many types of stories. And we just retell them with different characters, different scenes, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the same baseline. But we love them. We
They're
love them.
sticky.
They're sticky, and that stickiness causes us to learn
Mm-hmm.
because we learn through stickiness. Thank you for that word. We learn through connecting things,
Mm-hmm.
association. This associates to this, which associates to that. And when something is sticky, it's able to associate and I get it. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
using story and let me bring this into business now because I'm not saying necessarily, although I am a storyteller in my company, I tell a lot of stories, right? Um, but I use story to impart vision
Okay, say more.
because the thing that we as leaders don't realize is that the most important thing that we can do in order to create the company, the community, the environment, it all starts with vision. Now, what do I mean by that? And people hear the word vision and you think about this, oh, it was so big and wonderful, and there's going to be this day, and it's ooh, ah. And you think vision, and you think this big old thing. But here's the deal. If I've got this pen and I
Mm-hmm.
need to move this pen from here to here, and I need somebody else to do it, I have to cast vision.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you do. Okay.
And most of us don't realize that we're casting vision. We just say, move the pen from A to B.
Mm-hmm.
But if you cast vision in this moment, you cast vision in every moment, and you're using story to cast vision. It makes it sticky. And now people understand what's going on. Now they're more invested in actually getting it done. Now they're feeling, ooh, about actually doing it. I'm not just moving pen from A to B. Oh my gosh. I am affecting whatever it is.
See, I love that in of itself because it takes me back to some of the mistakes I made early in my career. I make different mistakes now, but I think back to the early mistakes I made early in my career, especially around the delegation trap, where in my
Yeah.
head it was, well, it's just quicker and easier to do it myself. And by the
Mm,
time I communicate the how and wherefores and the why fors of moving the pen from A to B, may as well have just done it myself. But that's what keeps leaders stuck in busyness and in the weeds, and also can then translate into the, well, I can't ask them to move the pen because that's just boring. But there's a different way of coming at it. So let's pivot and talk about the delegation trap, why
yeah,
you wrote
absolutely.
it, and what you're hoping that leaders, well, other than escaping from the trap, what are leaders going to get from it? So why now? Why did you write the delegation trap?
So number one, I never wanted to be an author. Let's just put that on the table. Was never
Well,
the desire to be,
congratulations.
yeah,
Hmm.
never desire. Um, and I was in a mastermind room and
Hmm.
I'm attending this mastermind. And it is one of those places where I attend because I feel like the little guy in the room because
Hmm.
everyone else are the big boys and big girls with big companies doing big things. And I feel like the little, right?
Hmm.
And so I get to learn a lot and I enjoy that. And one of the things we do with this mastermind is we go around and we share something that you've done in the last 90 days that other people can learn from, right? Okay, fine, no problem. And so I didn't have much to share because we were in a really bad period at that point in the company. Just like, you go through
Hmm.
downtimes. We were in a downtime. So I didn't
Yeah.
have anything really great. And so I stood up and I shared, I said, I don't answer questions that my employees ask.
Okay.
And like, that's it. And the uproar from the room, like, what the hell are you talking about? Because I spend most of my day answering questions that my employees ask. What do you mean you don't answer questions? I said, yeah, because what I know is if I cast the vision correctly, they don't have any questions. And if they come to me with a question that's covered in the vision, I don't need to answer it. If they come to me
Okay.
with a question that's not covered in the vision because I didn't do it, cast the vision correctly, okay, I'll answer that.
Hmm.
Okay. And so what happened was in that weekend, there were about 60 people in the room. About 50 of them came up to have a conversation with me about this. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, like, hold on, let me understand something here. I'm the little guy in this room. Y'all are all the big people. When I say the big people, like one guy did a presentation of how I should have made an extra $80 million. I'm the little guy in the room.
Hmm.
Okay. And What do you mean y'all don't know this? How do I know this and you don't know this? And that was the moment in time for me because I had been teaching delegation, but I've been teaching delegation to startups and to people who were solopreneurs and so on and so forth. Sitting in that room and hearing people that I look up to say, I'm struggling with that. I was like, holy crap, we need to share this.
So, for a leader that is trying to carry it all, and we've all been there at different
Absolutely.
times. So, like those in the mastermind room that suddenly, oh, the light's on and they realize they're trying to carry it all.
Yes.
What's one of the first things that they should do in order to start to let go?
Well, it's not them, it's you. And so it does start
Okay.
in the mirror. Okay. It starts in the mirror. And we talk about this in the book. It starts in the mirror with looking at where you are and some of the lies that you're living in, right? One of the lies that a lot of us live in is a lot of us think we're superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't call it that. I will. You won't call it that. And I've seen business owners when I say, "Oh, you're a superhero," and they cringe. No, I'm not. Yeah, you want to go fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You actually get the dopamine hit from fixing the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's superhero complex. Okay. The other side of superhero complex that people also fall into is I've been doing this for 30 years. There's no way in hell they can do it as well as me.
Yeah,
Right?
heard
Which
that
is
one
why I've got
too.
to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to look at yourself in the mirror and realize that you're saying these things. Okay. Then, and we talk about this in the book, is there's also a little bit of forgiveness because we've all been taught how to delegate incorrectly.
Have we?
Yes,
So, what's the
100%.
wrong way? And give us a snippet of the correct or better way.
So here's one that everyone seems to love because it's in a book that became really famous. I'm not going to call the book or the author's name. Um, but if they can do it 80% as well as you, delegate.
Okay. Seems
Let's just read.
reasonable enough.
It seems reasonable until you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's think about this for a moment. How many of us started our business so that it could run at 80%?
None. Mm-hmm.
And if our business is running at 80%, when our head hits the pillow, what are we thinking about?
The 20% we're missing.
And so,
Yeah.
therefore, fundamentally, it's flawed.
Mm-hmm.
The premise is flawed. Like it will get you to delegate, but then it will also get you into frustration because the thing here is we want our business to run at 110%.
So don't just delegate the task, you also have to articulate the gap, which is you've got the fundamentals. 80% tells me I can trust you. I'm handing you this work, but here's what you need, or here's my vision for what 100% is, or 110%, whatever that might be. And now either they're going to self-develop or you're going to provide the tools, the resources so that they can close that gap.
Even easier than that.
Oh, I love easier. Do it.
And this is a thing. Like I've read every book, almost every book that Amazon's published on delegation. I
Mm-hmm.
used to love, and I've made every mistake that any business owner can make in delegation, probably twice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've seen it all. I've been there, right? I've hired 200 people to fill 6 slots in a year. Like
Mm-hmm.
not good, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've made all of the mistakes. I've tried all of the ways they've taught us to delegate. They fail us
So go on then,
until
give us a little secret. Help us all
until
be better.
and I'm not sitting here telling you that I'm the smartest person in the world. This what I'm about to share with you came out of pain. We talk about it in the book. Out of a very, very broken place. This is where this came out of. Okay. And it's called a case method. And it's 4 questions.
Okay.
That's all you need.
Lay them
What's
on us.
standing between you and freedom is 4 questions.
Okay.
Okay? 4. So let me run this with you for a moment. Let's say you have a project and you need to give it to someone and it's their first time doing it. Okay? You would run the case method and you'll have a case method meeting. Now, here's how this will work. You go to the person, you say, hey, I've got this project. Here's how I think it should be done. And I fully expect that you're not going to get this right because I'm not doing a good job of actually giving you everything that you need. I'm giving you what I got, but I don't think this is everything that you need. I expect that you're going to fail, and it's okay. And when you fail, it's not your fault, it's mine. And I'm telling you that up front. This is mine. But here's everything. And here's what I want to do. Today is Tuesday. Let's meet on Friday. And on Friday, you're going to get a chance to tell me all the places that I failed you and all the places that went wrong. Okay? You set that up. Friday comes around. Now we have what we call the case method meeting. 4 questions. 4 questions. Okay? When a meeting starts, you ask, what challenges did you have in this task or project?
Okay.
Now, as a business owner, this is going to be tough. Shut your trap. Do not say a word. Let them talk. Poker face. Do not let them know good, bad, or indifferent. What I do is I take out my remarkable and I put my head down and I write so I don't have to look up at you.
Mm-hmm. Love
Okay?
my remarkable, by the way.
Yes. That's a plug for Remarkable. Hey, Remarkable, if you're listening, we'd like to be sponsors.
Yeah, we would love to be sponsors. Anyway, so challenge. What challenge have you experienced with this project? Yes. Poker face, zip it.
Say nothing. Just take notes.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Once they've listed out all of their challenges, then the next question is, okay, now I'd like you to articulate the steps that you went through. Start at the beginning. And then what? And then what? And then what? Articulate all of the steps. Again, zip it, poker face, write the notes. Give them the space to talk and have them feel that you're listening.
Okay. So that's C and A.
Yes, resist the urge to fix. Okay, that's C-A. But here's what's going to happen in that moment, though. In that moment, when you have that backdrop of the challenges they had and the process that they went through, you're going to start to see clearly where they went left and they should have went up. It's going to be clear, but you say nothing. You say nothing. You just write notes. Okay? Then the S. You're going to choose 4 of the steps. 4. 2 they did right. 2 they did wrong. 4. And you're going to study and dive deep. That's the S.
Okay. Right?
So tell me, what were your assumptions coming into this step? What did you think was going to happen? What actually did happen? How did that make you feel? How did you react to that? What would have made this easier? What would have made this better? How could it have worked? Okay. And now in that moment of studying there, here's what's happening. You're getting to see clearly that they think this way and you think this way. And you're seeing the differences. And when you see those differences, you realize there's a chasm in between their thought and your thought. And your job as a leader is to help them bridge that chasm. Now, you asked me earlier, and we talked about the most important thing for you to do is set vision. Here's the second most important thing, and it comes in this S stage, is you must become a master of asking questions in order to survive in business in the next 10 years to 20 years. Your question game has to go on supersonic level. Because
Mm-hmm.
now, in this moment, you have to ask questions. You see, we resist the urge in this moment to say, this is how I think, this is how you think. Let me just tell you how to think. That doesn't do it. What you want to do is you want to ask questions and say, okay, I know the answer over here, and I know you're over here. So, how do I ask you a question? And what is a series of questions I need to ask you to help you start taking the steps across the bridge to cross that chasm? So let me ask you this. When you started this process, you thought that you had 7 widgets, right? And
Mm-hmm.
because you had 7 widgets, you did X, Y, and Z. That's what you said, right? Yes, yes, that's what I said. So um, what would have happened if you had 5 widgets? Well, if I had 5 widgets, then I would have done, oh,
Mm-hmm.
really? Huh. And how would that have affected the next step and the next thing that you did? And you're asking them the questions for them to figure out the answer themselves, to walk all the way across the bridge. And when they get across the bridge, what they do invariably is they throw their hands up in the air and they say, I'm a genius. I figured it out.
It's
And
creating
you're,
the space and container for to slow down
mm-hmm,
and to think. And that's, I think,
yes,
one of the challenges for all of us is that we're moving at such a rapid pace. Yes, we're relying on AI, which is in some ways removing the critical thinking, the critical questioning of the why, where, how, who, what. And so
mm-hmm,
those first 3 steps are already bridging that gap in my mind. So,
mm-hmm.
what about the E then? What's E?
Before we get to the E, there's one more critical thing in the yes that's
Slow me down.
happening.
Hmm.
Okay. And here's the thing. This is a process that you repeat. You repeat, you
Yeah.
repeat, you repeat, you repeat in the same project, in the same task as you go through all of the steps, right? Here's the thing, because when they cross that bridge and they keep crossing that bridge, you see, here's what happens in their mind and in their hearts. As humans, let's get back to the story. As humans, we will we will support anything that we co-create.
Hmm.
Any story that we're a part of, we want to be supportive of.
And preferably as the hero, not the villain or
Well,
the guide. Hmm.
definitely not the villain. Okay.
Hmm.
But the key there is once they start to co-create, they start to take ownership.
Hmm.
And how many of us don't sit around and say, if only my people would take more ownership? That's the
Hmm.
key to them taking ownership. Okay. And then the E. The E is very simply, so what was easier than expected? Now, you don't always ask the E the first time around. Usually, we may run the case method meeting 4, 5, 6 times in a row and just do CAS, CAS, CAS until the process starts to actually start to flow well before we ask the E. Because
Hmm.
in that moment of asking, so what was easier than expected? The answer invariably highlights a hidden talent that your staff member has that you may not have noticed, you may not have paid attention to.
Hmm.
And so imagine for a moment, you've helped them cross the chasm and taught them how to think. And now they're able to layer on their uniqueness on top of how you think. All of a sudden, 110% becomes, oh, we can do that. Screw 80%.
Win-win for all. And that's to your earlier conversation, the difference between good or good enough and greatness.
Yeah,
Atiba, thank you for that rapid introduction to case.
you're
Challenge,
welcome.
articulate, study, easy. But
Yep.
of course, there's more richness behind it. And I would encourage all listeners and those who are watching the video version of this to get your hands on the Delegation Trap. It's not them, it's you, whether that's the physical book, Kindle book, or audiobook. But as we come
Mhm.
to the end of our time together, Atiba, what's one message you hope that leaders are leaving with from this conversation? And of course, how can people learn more about the work you do and get in touch?
Thank you for that. And the message would be you have to ask better questions. Stop telling people stuff. Ask, ask, ask. Let them articulate and become a better questioner. Okay? And we talk a lot about it in the book. Matter of fact, I dedicate several chapters to asking questions and the art of asking questions and the art of learning how to reframe your thinking on how to ask questions in the Delegation Trap. And to get the book and to be in touch with me, the easiest way, go to thedelegationtrap.com.
Wow, that is so easy. I will make sure that that is in the show notes below.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this conversation, I invite you all, please, to hit the little bell, hit subscribe, do whatever you need to do so you don't miss out on the next conversation. And make sure to check out Atiba's website and LinkedIn, etc., etc. But stay in touch. Atiba, it's been so much fun to have this conversation with you. Thank you for joining me.
The pleasure's been
People
all
First.
mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining Morag today. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. If you learned something worth sharing, share it. Cultivate your relationships today when you don't need anything before you need something. Be sure to follow Sky Team and Morag on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you have any ideas about topics we should tackle, interviews we should do, or if you yourself would like to be on the show, drop us a line at info@skyteam.com. That's SKYE team.com. Thanks again for joining us today, and remember, business is personal and relationships matter. We are your allies.